Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. ArchiCAD is the official BIM software of the EntreArchitect community. ArchiCAD BIM software enables design, collaboration, visualization, and project delivery no matter the project size or complexity. With flexible licensing options and a dedicated support team to guide us along the way, ArchiCAD is an ideal choice for firms and projects of any size. I encourage you to reach out and talk to the folks at Graphisoft by visiting our own dedicated webpage at graphisoft.com/us/EntreArchitect. There's even an exclusive special offer waiting for our EntreArchitect community. Go now to graphisoft.com/us/EntreArchitect and see how Graphisoft is positioned to help make your architecture firm a success. That's graphisoft.com/us/EntreArchitect. pattivhausmainene.com/EntreArchitect. My name is Mark R. LePage, and you are listening to EntreArchitect Podcast, where each week I speak with inspiring, passionate people who share their knowledge and expertise, all to help you build a better business as a small firm entrepreneur architect. Chris Briley, welcome to EntreArchitect Podcast.
Hi, Mark. Good to be here.
Chris Briley is a principal architect at Briburn, where he practices architecture for life, specializing in sustainable design. He's a certified passive house consultant, and he co-hosts the Green Architects Lounge podcast. He is an enthusiastic participant of the Building Science Discussion Group in Portland and a founding board member at PassivhausMAINE. So that's Portland, Maine that we're talking about, not the other West Coast.
We're the first Portland. So,
you're the good Portland. The first Portland.
Right. Yeah.
So that's who Chris is. Welcome, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Mark. It's good to be here.
This is going to be fun. Yeah, exactly. You've been around doing this thing for a long time. The Green Architects Lounge podcast has been around a long time.
It's been around a long time, and our biggest complaint is we don't put in the episodes like a real podcast does, like yours. we go away for months at a time, and then put it up in an episode, and then go away. And we haven't really posted anything since COVID. We were just getting back into the swing of things and being regular, and then COVID hit, and the studio where we starting to record closed, and so Phil and I haven't been back at it. But yeah, we're like old school podcasters, where we started when there were like 5 podcast shows out there, and you know how many of them were doing architecture, how many of them were doing green architecture. It was a niche of a niche.
It was you.
yeah. There weren't many, and then you came along, and so I was listening to your podcast, way back in the day as well. So you've been around the block.
Yeah, so, we've been doing it before architects knew what podcasts were.
That's right. Yeah. There are people listening to your podcast now who were just little kids running around, and now they're architects, and I'm thinking about being starting my own business in architecture. Who should I listen to? And that's just wild to think about.
That is a crazy thought.
Wild. Yeah.
Yep.
But it's a good show, and they're gonna be great architects, those kids. So.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna change the world.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to know how you got started when you were a kid, or whenever you discovered your passion for architecture. What inspired you to become an architect?
Oh, wow. I'm one of those kids who always knew he wanted to be an architect by sophomore year in high school or whatever. So, that's very annoying to people like my wife, who are she's still trying to figure out what she wants to do, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I was always I want to be an architect. And I don't know, I think I always wanted to do art. And then realized, that's a hard life. And then I don't know, got more excited when I realized, you can do sculpture that you walk through and experience, you live your life in, and that just charged me up even more. And I wasn't a good student. And then I remember my mom sitting me down and saying, if you want any of these architecture schools to look at you, your grades let's look at what your grades are and what they are looking for entry fee. Anyway, I don't have to get into that, all that stuff. But basically, it was the desire to be an architect that actually made me a good student, where I wasn't before. Or I should say I was a lazy student before, but then I became a better one. And I went to Ball State College of Architecture and Planning. And for those of you from New England, it's weird. When I move out to Maine, from the Midwest. In the Midwest, I say, I went to Ball State. Everyone knows where that is. I come out here, I say, I went to Ball State. And they're like, State? Boston. I'm it's Indiana. Dave Letterman went there. Yeah, whatever. And
Jeff Eccles of EntreArchitect fame. He's Ball State grad.
All right. Yep. Go Cardinals. Or whatever.
Yep.
I think it's Cardinals. Yes.
I have no idea. He would know. He's a baseball fan.
Yeah. So. Oh, okay. He would know. I missed the sports gene, as my brothers would say. I didn't get that one. They did, but I didn't. Anyway, long story short, I ended up in Maine, was working for other firms, and, I eventually went out on my own. And I think, somewhere in that span, had that epiphany moment where I realize from the Earth's perspective or from future generations' perspectives, architects are not the good guy. Like if we're making a movie of protagonists, it's not architects or builders. We build things. We consume materials and energy and make toxic chemicals and do all this stuff and dig up the earth and plow things over and cut down trees, yada yada yada. And then when you realize, oh my God, we're with climate change and all that, it's like, wow, we are the problem. And then how do you sit with that as like, oh, my career choice is right in conflict or right at this nexus of where all these things come together. And you just have to I don't know exactly when that happened. I think it happened like really late 1990s or whatever, when I wanted to be sustainable, and that was really before climate change was as big a thing. And now carbon is upfront carbon is even the bigger issue that's fueling that whole climate change issue for architects. And and so now like there's always this struggle in my in our office and in what we do. Like we have to be the good guys. We have to have that triple bottom line where it's people, planet, and profit. Because I am a for-profit company, or we run one. Don't want. But what we do, we need it to be good for the people who are experiencing the buildings and for our employees and for everyone involved. If you did good at that, great, check. If what you're doing is actually good for the planet, or at least not bad for the planet, then check. And then if you make money, check. And hey, you're a good businessman. Or I made it. That's easier said than done.
Yes. Well, that's actually what my next question is. So do you remember the moment where you had this firm and you realized that this is a change that you needed to make, and you needed to be more focused on sustainability and start to really promote sustainability and build a brand around being a sustainable firm? Did you make that as a conscious decision, and how did you make that change?
Well, I think it started, the firm I was in beforehand, we were doing a lot of stuff for Tom's of Maine, which was great. And I think that's where I really had a lot of exposure to, sustainability and being, let loose, like, oh yeah, try to be, and you realize pretty quickly that there's a greener way to do everything, like whatever you think the best way to do something is, there's a more sustainable way to do it. And it's, at some point it'll get crazy, but so you got to find that point where it's good and everyone buys into it and it brings value. And, so I think I learned that part. And then I think when I went out on my own, it really was around a particular house that I was working on with another builder. It was a spec house where, buildings are, because they're so large, like the market doesn't change rapidly for architecture, like most builders out there, build what sells and people buy what's offered. And there's not a lot of pushing the envelope. And so like, we really wanted to push the envelope and say, we can build better. We can build more sustainably and whatever. And so I think that was the triggering piece that made me go out on my own and do that. But figuring out exactly when that was where I, said, all right, I'm devoting my career to doing only, sustainable stuff. And back then, we're talking like 2005, whatever. And when I opened that office was called Green Design Studio. Briburn's been around since 2013. But, when I named it Green Design Studio, they're like, oh my God, all my friends and colleagues are like, are you sure you want to like hang your hat on the word, on green? Like you're going to get like one project a year, are you sure you want to do that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm doubling down. I'm doing it because that's what I want to do. But now every firm is like, oh yeah, we do that. We do green.
Right. Yeah.
Like, well, really? Yeah. But do you live it? Is it, part of the culture? And that's the thing is like, we're trying to, at Briburn, we're trying to really make sustainability part of the culture. It's like, that's what our projects are. And that's what we do. We energy model everything we do. Well, not everything, I should say. We do all the new projects. We energy model some renovations, but renovations have their own beast. Sometimes there's really no point in energy modeling the renovations if it's like in addition to a 200-year-old farmhouse. It's like the part we do is going to be great, and then we'll have to deal with the rest of the house later or something for the client. Well,
so you built the firm Briburn knowing that it was going to be focused on sustainability. it's part of your brand. What are some of the specific decisions you made when you launched Briburn to make that part of your brand, that it's clear that this is how your firm works?
Well, that's a good question. I think when that happened, I was so happy to get rid of the word green, the title of my firm, whatever at the time. And then I partner, and the reason why it's called Briburn is that my name's Briley and my partner is Harry Hepburn, and you push those together as Briburn. And it took us months to come up with that name or whatever. It's just crazy. All the other names we were considering, and that was actually just the name that our marketing guy, who's a friend of mine, that was just what he used to talk about us, just generically or whatever. I'm going to meet with Briburn, whatever.
It was an abbreviation.
Yeah, it was an abbreviation, and I'm like, well, let's do that. And you know what? You Google Briburn, you just get one. There's
right,
it's a unique word,
and you got the URL.
That was a breeze.
Briburn.com is there.
Yeah.
But it was a conscious decision to not use sustainability or green in the name of the firm.
Yes, because of the tragedy of the word green. It's like now, everyone there's greenwashing and every firm does green now. It's like, well, yeah, but do you? And it's meaningless because to some person, green means bamboo floors. It's like, no, that's not green. And some people it's net zero, some people it's carbon zero. So it has no metric to it. It doesn't mean anything. The word sustainable is almost the same thing. We were worried almost any other word we choose is going to suffer the same fate eventually in some way or another. We thought, all right, if we have a unique word, Briburn, that is, we get to, over the course of our career of this office, define what that is.
Right.
And so what we want that to be is like synonymous with sustainable architecture. That's the aspiration, and we're working on it. And also, because this is a business podcast, an architecture business podcast, we can talk about, like that name is like, you've got firms where we didn't want to be Briley Hepburn because I don't know, we want to also foster a culture in the office where people can help pilot the course of the office. Like we as the principals, would guide that philosophy of sustainability and that mission, and others can, we gather those who share that philosophy and can help us as we grow older and like less in touch with the cool stuff or whatever, like the people who come in with like the new passions and excitement and directions and stuff, like they can have an effect and they can guide where this goes and actually feel ownership. And so like we can one day just fade away the principles and still have and that's the dream.
And Briburn can continue and
Briburn
grow
can
beyond you.
And, right. Yeah. And that was the idea. But I don't know if I even answered the original question.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, you're also, and I didn't mention this in your bio, but you're also a co-author of Pretty Good House book.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, that's the thing that we're pushing these days, the authors, and, not necessarily for book sales, because honestly, when we did this book, we weren't sure how popular it would be. And like no one's planning to retire from this book. No one's, it's not that's not why we did it.
Well, after this podcast, you never know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna
sell millions of these things.
I get the EntreArchitect bump in sales. It's gonna be great.
You heard it, people. Go buy the book.
Go get it at Amazon. Leave a 5-star review if you like it. If you don't, then don't leave anything. But
do the 5-star review. It's good.
Yeah, but I think this book was, like the whole idea is, in fact, this is how the book started, where Dan Cole. So we had the buildings science discussion group. You mentioned that in the, I always like to promote that. Steve Constantino of Performance Building Supply here in Portland, Maine. He and Dan Colbert, my fellow co-author and builder, they'd get together, think about a topic, usually like minutes before the session started or whatever, and basically builders, architects, engineers, whoever, building enthusiasts would just show up at Steve's store. We'd have beers. Sometimes there's snacks. If in summertime, someone would get the grill out or whatever, and we pick a topic and argue about it and debate it. And cathedral ceilings, vent or don't vent, or how's the best way to do that? And you have all these Yankee builders who are stubborn as hell say, oh, this is how you do it. You always do it this way, and everyone knows it. And then, so, and it was great. It's a great forum. And, anyway, so Dan's usually the moderator, and I'm like his understudy when he can't make it. Or that was the shtick. Anyway, and so we were doing he was like, I think he was doing his first Passive House, or maybe it was a lead gold or platinum house or something like that. And anyway, he was I'm putting words in his mouth, but who cares?
He's not here.
He's not here to defend himself. So anyway, I think he was very frustrated about these rating systems and how he's been he's doing these sustainable houses, and he's just going through all this work just to prove that he's doing it right. And I think it exasperated. He said, I just want to do a pretty good house. We just want to do a pretty good house. And what does that look like? And so we had this great conversation about what that looks like, and it was heated about like, how much do you insulate? Because this was the moment when Passive House was right in the crosshairs of people. They're like, oh, you're putting 16 inches of foam under a slab. It's like, how to hit your energy goals? At what point do you say I'm being ridiculous about this? And it's like, well, we need to affect the masses, not just one boutique house. Anyway, so Mike Maines, a fellow co-author, blogged about that session and on the greenbuildingadvisor.com, and it kind of blew up. And we had a second session, and he blogged about that, and all of a sudden people are like talking about, can't wait for pretty good house standards to come out, and this is going to be a great system that we're all going to I'm looking for. And we're like, whoa, this thing, we hit the zeitgeist on this one, and it was like it is like a Frankenstein monster getting up from the table and born. And it's like, holy crap, we better figure out what to do. And I can't remember, this is like 10 years ago, whatever, or more. And I think I was the one who was pushing most, like, we need to make this a book and get it out there. And I think Mike, pitched it to Taunton Press, or I can't remember what it was probably Mike. And at the time they were like, no one's into books. They're all into e-books, all into, the future's digital, man.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and the phone rings, and it's a publisher from Taunton. He's like, hey, how we said people aren't interested in books? People are really interested in books now. And this was a really great idea. I don't know why we didn't do it. I'm like, I don't know why you didn't do it either, man. And so basically, the four of us, got together and said, let's write this together, because, the whole concept of Pretty Good House, the cool thing about it is it's sort of consensus born. It's born from a debate amongst all of our peers, and they're all really great people who really know what they're talking about. And so like, we wanted to get a group of people to write this, and so it was Dan Colbert, Mike Maines, Emily Mottram, and myself. And then we got a publisher, who basically wrangled us like cats, and he's retired. Ours was the last book. He swears it has nothing to do with his retirement, but
you put him out of business.
Yeah, Peter Chapman. He was really great. But he did say, you guys are writing with a very similar voice, which is helpful. And of course, I think we did give him a few extra gray hairs having four authors. But essentially we divided up the chapters and amongst us, and all took the first pass at it, and then all critiqued each other's work and made sure we're saying the right things here, and we're all in agreement on it. And the editors did their pass, and cut out like 25% of all of our words, and made it a much more readable tome. And then of course Taunton, they've got access to great publication abilities. And then and then it happened. There you go.
How long did it take from the initial invitation to publish to the point where you had the book in your hand?
From the first invitation, almost 2 years. So it would be like, but when we really got started, about a year and a half would probably be the real answer to that. And so you think that writing stops like a good 6 months before the book comes out. There's a lot of actual publishing that happens, and editing and whatnot, and back and forth that way. So
who is the book written for?
That was the other really hard part about this book, is because we are trying to hit a very broad cross section of readers. Like this book is for, like, for me, like, since this is EntreArchitect, like, this is a great book to hand the intern who's starting in the office and say, here, this is, like, we say it's a guide to creating better homes, because that's really what it's like we're trying to, it tries to be a book about everything. But it's also a book where there's nothing new in it. It's just organized and compiled in like almost a textbook way that is very conversational, with a slight bit of humor or whatever. And it's like, here, you can read this. And it's also a good one to like give your excited clients who've come through the door and they're like, I want to learn about all these things. And you could spend tons of time teaching them and talking about it. Or you could say, I want you to have this book here. Read this, as homework, put it under your pillow, absorb it or whatever. And it's a good primer. It's also a book that I think enthusiastic homeowners or people who are about to build their own house, call a timeout, buy this book, read it. And it's sort of like, helps sort of get your value set, situated. What are the important things to get right? And what is the process through, home building that you should, go through, from, design to, site stuff, getting your team right, the building envelope, and then get into the technical stuff with systems and vapor barriers, the whole thing. And so, like, for some, like, I think for new architects, they're going to get a lot out of this book. I think experienced architects, they'll get a little bit out of it, or experience in high performance buildings. And anyone's doing high performance houses, and they'll probably take something from it. There's some good content in there. But I also think someone like my mom, she'd read it and go, hey, this is good. There's some good stuff in here. And I don't, if basically you can get as deep as you need to get. And that was actually the hardest part about writing this thing, was trying to keep it, so that we're talking to those same people of different experience levels.
Let's take a quick break to say thank you to our sponsors for their support of this episode. This episode of EntreArchitect Podcast is supported by arcat.com. Can't find the product data that you're looking for? You might be using the wrong search engine. Broad searches result in consumer products, out-of-date information, and websites that hide or don't have the information that you're looking for. If you need specifications, CAD, or BIM, arcat.com is your search engine. Find and download the up-to-date data that you need fast. arcat.com is free and requires no registration. So try Arcat today. That's ARCAT.com. Please visit our sponsors today and thank them. Thank them for supporting you, the EntreArchitect community. It's very approachable, right? It's this concept, right? This topic of sustainable design can get so complicated and so deep and so in the weeds with all the calculations and the details, and just gets overwhelming. And what's fantastic about The Pretty Good House is that it's better than just a regular house, right? You can build code, and code will let you build the best worst house you can build, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And Pretty Good House is saying, okay, well, if you don't want to just build the best worst house you can build, this is a pretty good house. This is going to be better than a typical house. It's not going to be at the top of it's not going to be a passive house, or at the extreme where it's not going to be net zero. But if you want to build a house that is sustainable, it's taking care of the planet, you're looking at your materials, and you're looking at every aspect of the house. It's not just systems, but it's everything, right? It's the materials that you build with, the systems that you build with, the methods that you build with. It's all in there, and it's really easy to consume. It's easy to understand. It's illustrated, so it's us architects. The eye candy's there for you, and so it's very well done, and it's a book that every architect should have on their shelf for reference, for sure.
Oh, well, thanks for saying that, Mark. I mean, I think so, but I'm incredibly biased. So Yeah. Yeah. I totally you said it better than I did. Yeah. That's exactly what it's for and who it's for. So, yeah.
Is there anything that's happened with you and or your co-hosts since writing the book that's just sort of interesting, that this is sort of a result of being an author? Has there been any sort of
Yeah.
experiences that you've dealt with?
There's been a few, like there's a lot that, everything's the same. I walk through the door in the office. No one gives a crap about the book. I'm like, here's a book. You can have it for yourself. And like, thanks, big deal. But
They're keeping you
yeah,
humble.
yes,
They don't
exactly.
want
But
you to recognize the rock star that you've become.
exactly, yeah. Once this ego is already just brimming, it's ready to just overflow. But no, like we've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of people who have, they'll visit prettygoodhouse.org, and then they'll thank us for writing this book. And they're like, oh my God, I learned so much. Or I'm so glad I read, this chapter about, air sealing before I built my house. I had no idea it was so important, or whatever. There's so many pieces and parts. Different people will take it, from different angles. But we've also heard from different universities or teaching institutions that are like, this is a textbook. This is we might start adjusting a course. Can we use your book? And so, like, we're talking about that. Penn State is looking at it. There's a Canadian university looking at a couple of community schools, community colleges that are starting to pick it up as maybe a textbook. And
that's very exciting.
It is very exciting. And the authors, we've each done different presentations in different locations. Like, I just got back from South Bend, Indiana, where they're trying to have sustainable housing development. They're trying to push for some sustainable housing development and sustainable communities. And man, what a great group of people in South Bend pushing that and doing the work that they're doing there. And really diving into their community and creating neighborhoods based on a community, not like from the outside in, but from the inside out. And they contacted us because they were like, this has an element of sustainability to it. This is, you can't just do affordable housing and expect, or, a lot of it's renovations and that sort of thing. But if you do, affordable housing, a lot of people think affordable housing is, the cheapest house you can make for someone to get into, like a roof over your head, heat and all that stuff. But if it is a huge burden, if it's the cheapest house and worst house you can build, then it's also the hardest house to maintain and with the biggest burden. And you just gave, if you're in an affordable housing entity and you give, that kind of house to a person who's struggling, then they're never going to get ahead. But if you give them a house that with, tiny energy bills and that's very comfortable and easy and durable to, easy to maintain and durable, then, you just help them out even more. And usually these entities that are creating this type of work, these projects, this type of housing, they have the means to do so. And for them, it's not much of a stretch to go that, just make a pretty good house instead of a low income house. I'm using air quotes. You can see me, Mark, but they can't. But I went on a tangent there, I realized. But
I think that what you just said calls for the Pretty Good Development book as a volume 2.
Gosh.
that talks about how you can build pretty good developments.
Yeah, well, I'll give you an exclusive, an EntreArchitect exclusive. But
excellent, I love it.
I think Pretty Good Renovations is being heavily talked about. And
Interesting.
Could very well be the next sequel. But we're getting a lot of pressure from Taunton and others to do that, because you read the book, we give some lip service to renovation work, but renovations, every project is so different and unique. And there's a lot to think about there. And there's a lot that they all have in common. But we thought, the basic principles of everything are much better explained with, new construction. So it's a good sequel book. And
I think Pretty Good Renovations have a huge demand. I think there are a lot of renovation architects out there that would love some sort of book like that sort of gives us a guide to how to do it better. that the Pretty Good House has a lot of information for that. So renovation architects should be grabbing that book too. But to have a book that's very specific to renovations would be great. I'd buy that.
Oh, great. Thanks, Mark. I'll put you down. Sale number 1. We'll send it to you.
You got it.
And everything.
That sounds good to me. All right. Well, before we wrap up, I'd love to have your answer to my question that I ask my guests.
Sure.
What is one thing that a small firm architect can do today to build a better business for tomorrow?
Well, I should have known this was coming, Mark. I should have been more prepared for the question. But if I had to answer that, I'm going to kind of answer with like what I'm struggling with now, or what I'm realizing now. The phrase "know thyself."
Yeah.
Like it is immensely important. Like when you're starting your own business, everything is like a struggle, and you're like in the trenches, and you don't have time to really put focus on yourself in terms of what am I really good at and what am I really bad at, and where do I need everything, what kind of infill do I need from what help do I need, and so it's like what advice do I really need to seek in different aspects of myself, because I'm in a way captain of the ship, or in my case co-captain of the ship, and it's like you realize that a lot of flaws in project management, flaws in company management are the fact that I'm focused on other things that I'm more passionate about, or that I like doing. And so I tend not to do the things that I don't like doing. But, hey, if you're running your own business, you have to do all these things. Like I went to college, studying architecture, not business. And there's some advice. Hey, go take a business class.
Join EntreArchitect. That's what we're here for.
Join EntreArchitect and learn about the business side of architecture. But for me, I think the advice, and something I'm learning about, is trying to figure out how do I best fit into my own office. How do I navigate that? And so like that's a little bit of sit down and meditate and be very honest.
That's very good advice. It's some self-awareness, some self-analysis, and see where you fit best, right? Because the way we succeed is when we focus on the things that we're strong at, the things that we're really good at, and finding other ways to accomplish the many things that need to be done, but we may not be the right people for. And when we first start, like you said, we just do it all.
Yeah.
And 10 years later, you can still just be doing it all. And you could be in a position where you don't have to do it all anymore. And you can focus on the thing that you're really good at and have somebody else do the things that you're not so good at, and really take it to the next level by doing that.
Yeah. And a lot of it, I think, comes down to passion. It's like, because what I think is universal is like, if you're passionate about something, you're good at that thing. And I think that's any person is like that. It's like, what are you most passionate about? Well, it turns out you're really good at that thing. It's like, if you're passionate about bookkeeping, oh my God, you should be bookkeeping in this place. I don't know those people, but you know what I mean? It's like,
they're out there.
They're out there. Yeah. There are numbersy people. There are, so it's, who's passionate about scheduling projects and lining them up like an air traffic controller in the pipeline of things. Where is that person? Who that's not? That's not me. I like designing buildings. So like learning this stuff about yourself late in the game is not helpful. Learning it about yourself early is really important.
Yeah.
That's my bit of advice.
Good advice. Good advice. His name is Chris Briley. The firm is Briburn. You can learn more about Briburn at briburn.com. Got that URL because he picked this name.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a lot shorter than the potential long double names.
Yeah, that's right.
Burn. So Briburn.com. We'll have links to that in the show notes. The book is Pretty Good House. The Pretty Good House. It's prettygoodhouse.org is the website.
Yeah.
We'll have links to all of that on the show notes. You should go buy that book and read it and give it away and buy lots of them and give them to all your clients. It is a book that is exactly perfect for that. If you're doing residential work, you should buy a whole collection of them and give them away to every client you work with. And I'm not just saying that because Chris is looking at me here. It is exactly what you should do, because I think it will help you do what you do, right? Because it'll educate your clients on how you can best serve them. So Chris, thank you for writing that book, for dedicating yourself to making the world better through architecture rather than harming our world through architecture. I appreciate you going out there and talking about it and writing about it. And I appreciate you for coming by here and sharing your knowledge at EntreArchitect Podcast.
Thanks, Mark. It's been a real pleasure and great to be on your show.
If you liked this episode of EntreArchitect Podcast, please share a rating, write a review, share a link with a friend. That's how EntreArchitect has grown to serve thousands of architects just like you. Please share a rating, write a review, share a link to this episode with a friend. I'd appreciate it. Links to all our sponsors and all the resources we discussed today are available at the show notes for this episode, found at entrearchitect.com/podcast. EntreArchitect is a member of the Gable Media Podcast Network. It's the network dedicated to architects, engineers, and construction pros. Listen and subscribe to all the shows at Gable Media at gablemedia.com. That's GABL media.com. Go check it out. We have, I think, 13 podcasts over there now. gablemedia.com. And before we wrap up, a special thank you to our partners at Graphisoft for helping our community of architects make the transition to BIM with ArchiCAD software. Go now to graphisoft.com/US/EntreArchitect and see how Graphisoft is positioning to help make your architecture firm a success. Visit graphisoft.com/US/EntreArchitect to learn more. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of EntreArchitect Podcast. My name is Mark R. LePage. Love, learn, and go share what you know.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark R. LePage, founder of EntreArchitect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.